code awareness like we always do, just for about a few moments. We're going to extend through our bodies like we always do. Each other. Michelle, you don't think this is working? Maybe just open up that little button. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it working now? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's working now. Great, thanks. So glad everybody here. Let's lower the music now. Focus in. So here we are. Glad everybody. Let's do it. So we'll extend also to our generational field, the ancestors. Then we'll extend to the different teachers and yogis. Excuse me. And then we'll extend to the traditions that we participate in, and they mix in our bodies. And then we'll extend to that dimension that's so primal, the archetypical, the Devas and Dakinis, the gods and the goddesses, those powers, those Shaktis. Bring them all into our body. So last time we met, we were talking about the Kayas. So I think we'll do that again this morning. But let's try to think whether we should pair up or should we do triangles. Let's try triangles, okay? So 2 people will be in front of Steve, 2 people, Dawn, 2 here, 2 here. Steve, you're going to move because you're a newcomer, hon. And somebody will take your place who's been around for a long time. Maybe Tom, you could come over there, hon. Okay. Great. And Jan, you want to come here, please? Julie, you want to come here for a minute? Have you work with me today? Okay. Right here, right here. Let's pair up 2 people. If we can all, if you could, okay. Would you, I'm sorry to be a little, would you guys mind sitting against the wall if you can? I want the energy to come along that way. And then 2 people in front of Tom. You got 1 person? Okay. You guys are going to push over. You're going to push like so this way. You'll be 2 here. Yeah, just a little bit over there in front of Juliet. Okay. Great. Everybody's got 2 people? We don't have to have 2 people. If you guys can just push it, maybe just like that. You guys just shove a little bit more over Juliet. There we go. Great. Great. And if you're new, okay, you work with Tom. Are you missing? Okay. And if you don't want to be in a triangle, or that's okay also. Everybody's got 1 or 2? Or there's 2? Okay. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to put you over here. Okay. Everybody sort of snug? That's right. You can put that. Okay. Everybody's got 2? And Patricia's got, you guys got 2 over there with, okay, great. Now we're going to, good to see everybody. Let's just close our eyes just for 2 seconds, okay? I'm just going to focus in, resting for a little bit. And then we're going to extend to the people in front of us, start in a little triangle. And we've been trying to understand the 3 kayas, or the 3 dimensions of awareness. Is this little machine recording to CD? CD recording, great. And as you all know, that in becoming aware of awareness, there are various experiences that manifest. Huh? And the first thing we realize, and we always want to realize it over and over again, because it's the most, like, unfortunately, the first step is the most important step. So the most difficult step. And that is we realize that our mind is not our awareness. We can feel the difference when we're in the mind. We can also feel the difference when we're in awareness. And we can feel the difference when we're aware of awareness itself. And we start discovering that this awareness is a vast field, and it's multidimensional. And I always begin over and over and over again with the same thing, because that's at least how we all are in certain ways. We're beginning over and over again. We're always a beginner. We're always, oh yeah, I'm in my mind alone. Oh yeah, now I'm aware of my mind. Okay, wait a minute, now I'm aware of awareness. Wow. Okay, now I'm aware of awareness, and I'm really entering into, I'm holding awareness. Okay, now I'm entering, because when I'm holding awareness, awareness is just in my body. Then I start to enter awareness, and awareness is in front of me. Let's enter it together. Huh? It's in front of us. It's around us. And what is so great about human beings is they all have awareness. And so when with human beings, two awarenesses are really extremely helpful for us. With me. So we're going to extend our awareness into our little triad. So 3 awarenesses are better than 2. And as we do that, we start feeling the field in front of us and around us and beyond our body boundaries. And this happens over and over again. Huh? And then, as we do it enough, we start becoming the field. Huh? We're not just holding it, we're not just in it, but we start to feel our very self, our very sense of subjectivity, which is not a naughty word, our very sense of subjectivity becoming spaciousness, huh? And becoming the qualities. So let's invoke that spaciousness now, for ourselves and for each other. And to have this in that situation where we're not only doing it for ourselves and each other, actually cuts through the solipsistic tendencies of our own motivation to self-perfection. So we'll focus on the spaciousness. Then for a moment, I would like a disc of spaciousness in the lower body. I always see the deities sit on disc, okay? And so we're going to extend that disc of spaciousness to each other from the lower body first. Say yes if you can feel that a little bit. Yes. Then we're going to extend the disc of spaciousness from the dantian, from the navel. Then we're going to extend the disc of spaciousness from right beneath the breast. Huh? That little doorway, that is the big doorway. Huh? We're going to extend that to each other. And then we're going to extend it from the throat. And then we're going to extend it from our eyes, actually from our eyes, that disc of awareness. And then we can feel the sense of one disc, that one spaciousness. Now, at this point, we're entering the Namaskaya. Huh? It's a little bit more esoteric. Now, we're going to find within our own bodies, out of this base of spaciousness, we're going to find the clarity, or it may be brighter than the clarity, it may be luminous. So we're going to extend that light. And we're going to extend that light through our entire body. that entire that column from the ground. And there are two people you're extending to, so you feel both of them. If you need more grounding, you lean the pelvic area over a little bit, and that energy will get more grounded. A little forward. You can feel those triangles forming in your body also. More brightness. Then we're going to sense the purity, the kadik. It's like this untouched, just pure purity, nothing. We'll find that. All this is in the body, huh? It's all in the body. Then we'll extend that to each other. And all these are really different tones of the manifestation of awareness. And then we're going to extend compassion, which is the great affection, the heart essence. It is ultimately nectarian. But it's not an affect like other affects. It is the very nature of awareness. We're going to extend that to each other. And then we're going to sense our establishment in oneness. 3 minds, 1 nature. 3 bodies, 1 nature. We're going to lean into each other. Just like you're leaning forward, whether physically or psychically. You want to just lean into the other a little bit more. You can feel the amplification of the self-arisen awareness, and you can feel it expanding. Naturally, all of us have a bit of awareness. There's no question about it. An ordinary mind is awareness. But to experience the kayas, experience the dimensions of awareness in its fullness, we wind up feeling the whole of awareness. We start feeling the whole thing, wholeness, the whole awareness. Infinite horizons. That's why they call it Buddha, the awakened one's extension. Huh? The capacity of extension is not incidental to this in the body. Let's lean into each other again, please. And now we're going to go a step further and open up the heart essence. You can put your hands around that cycle in your chest, your heart. But feel yourself opening that and extending it. As Goethe said, more light. The more we can open this dimension, then we can amplify, we can intensify, we can pacify it, we can use it to cut through, and we can use it to assimilate experience. Let's extend it to everyone again. In the triangle. And so there's 1 column of light now. self arising. And as the little yin meets the outer yin, huh? The inner yin meets the yin of the great expanse. The inner expanse meets the outer expanse. Theoretically, they're one, but experientially, through that extension, they become one. Everything is oneness, but experiencing it is fruition. Let's extend again from the inner heart. As we do that, the back opens up. Are you feeling that? So you begin feeling that mandala, that circle, that 360 feeling, naturally. And feel the light. So right now, we're not witnessing the dimension of the Nirmayakaya. We're not witnessing the light. We're in it. So we really want to get beyond being the witness. Ultimately, the witness is a very subtle but dissociative state, okay? We want to go beyond the witness. It's really useful if you're having a bad experience, okay? But you want to go beyond the witness, feeling yourself. So there's a bit of releasement. You release yourself. So releasement is really important in this. Just releasing ourselves into the field. And we're really lucky because we have talented people here. Because they're doing it, we can do it. Releasing yourself. And you can feel that the releasement's now bringing you beyond their bodies, right? The field is bigger than the triad now. That's happening for everybody? And we're still hanging out in the appearance. We're still in Nirmayakaya. So we're going to stay in the awareness state. We're going to open our eyes a little bit. But we're going to be a little serious for a moment. We can gaze, a soft gaze into everyone's body. Gazing into the sky, gazing through, gazing at the walls. Then we're going to extend as a triad to the room itself. As a triad, as a little three, we're going to extend to the room. The capacity of extension actually brings forth what's there. It brings it forth in us as sentient beings, but actually it brings it forth in the physical world, the anima mundi. Because this whole world is the manifestation of awareness, right? So just like extension can open, as we feel the awareness of our own body, we extend to another, it opens into the oneness with sentient beings. It is exactly the same for opening it with the anima, the psyche of the world, the physical world. So, but three awarenesses are better than one, so let's extend to the physical world. Above you, to the right, to the left. We can extend to the tankas, which are built-in iconic doorways. When they're done, we can extend to the beautiful tankas. Someone has mysteriously and kindly sent us 3 tankas. Very beautiful. The 2 over there and the 1 over there. Just exquisite and very much filled with love. But the tankas, if you one way of learning why they're there is learning how to bring forth the anima dimension of the physical world. That's part of what they're for, right? So you can extend the tankas. Everybody following this? But then you start to feel the same vibration arise. So when you feel the sea of chi in a room, it's actually the room itself is now attuned and participating, just like your room where you meditate. You with me? It's not like the room is non-participatory. You with me? The very physical room is participatory. You guys understand that? It is completely participatory. It is alive. So let's just stay feeling this, feeling the oneness, and feeling the heart essence. And then we can feel people's minds quite incidentally. And you can feel how their mind is not the whole story. It can organize a lot. We all know each other. You can feel the minds. And then we're really starting to feel, in the Mayakaya, gnosis arises. The oneness of Namayakaya is the oneness of gnosis, direct perception. So direct perception starts to emerge. And through all the different kayas, timeless awareness is present. Can you feel that right now? Say yes if you can. But now if you're feeling time, you're situating yourself in timeless awareness, and yet in the Mayakaya, we're in time. It's time and timelessness. They're meeting like with those little circles cross. And here we are, a bunch of totally ordinary people, and we're able to do this. And then we're learning to sustain it. We're learning to go through that little step 1,000 times in the mind, becoming aware of the mind, becoming aware of awareness, and deepening the participation in the awareness field, becoming it, especially through releasement. Everybody doing okay? And all the different dimensions manifest supposedly in seemingly different ways, fashions. And ultimately it's the self-arising present manifesting itself. It's manifesting itself us as the awareness, but it's also manifests itself as our bodies, and it's also manifesting itself as our situation. That's why the situation is awareness is always in a situation. And that situation is the manifestation of awareness. So one of the great practices, perhaps one of the highest Dzogchen practices, is with watching the spontaneity of the manifestation in the present, the coming and going. So suddenly Michelle leaves and then she'll come back maybe, huh? And someone else moves. There's always this coming and going, appearing and disappearing, huh? And yet there's the continuity of the oneness. You can stretch your legs out if you want. There's the continuity of the oneness. There's no one posture for this stuff. There is no posture to be in awareness. That's simply not true. So we're watching the manifestation of appearance and disappearance. We're watching the spontaneity. We're not thinking about it in terms of causality. We're just watching the spontaneous manifestation. Are we all doing it right now? You can just feel the spontaneous manifestation, appearing and disappearing. As we can lean to the spontaneity, that is the very essence of the nature of awareness. And then that will give us liberation. That's a jump. The jump is not simply jumping at the moment of death. The jump is in the present. That leap they're talking about. Are you following this a little bit right now? Say yes if you are. So you're watching the stunningness of spontaneity. Even if nothing much is happening, it seems, you stay with that. Just like you can feel the oneness, just like you can feel the spaciousness, just like you can feel the clarity, just like you can feel the light, just like you can feel the purity, you can feel the spontaneity. The Shaivites call it the abhasa, the opening and the closing. Or the Matrika Shakti is another language of it. The Matrika Shakti. Say yes if you can sense that right now. It is considered perhaps the greatest practice to simply sense the spontaneity, the constants arising and disappearing. Manifestation, dissolving. Then you can focus in your own body and you can feel a manifestation arising and dissolving, whatever that might be. That immediacy is self-liberation. I love you, love you, love you. Now I'm not so sure. That arising is liberation. That arising at being able to follow, even within your own body or around you, in the oneness of the field. It takes place in the oneness of the field. So it's a little complex, eh? It is not cognitive. It may sound cognitive, but it's not cognitive at all. It is completely 100% experiential. How's everybody doing? Comfortable? We can stretch your legs out. You can put them next to the person. That's okay. You can touch the person with your foot. That'll increase the energy, actually. Physical touch will increase the energy. Oh, yeah. You know, sometimes, let's stay in the awareness, sometimes the kayas, Namaya Kaya, there's a lot of variation in this, okay? So I'm going through a rather dense way of going about it. But for some, awareness without awareness void of thoughts is Dharmakaya. For some, awareness, clarity unhindered is Sambhogakaya. For some, awareness arising in whatever form is Namayakaya. That is the most simplest understanding. You with me? But it puts it a little more psychologically toned than how I'm presenting it. It's a little bit more cosmologically toned. Cosmos, ontology. Everybody doing okay with this? Let's stay with this now. Let's lean into each other again. There's a great Zen master. What's his name? He lives in Wisconsin. Very wonderful person. Very famous Zen person. He said, Zen is intimacy. So in becoming aware of awareness, it is a very intimate experience with me. So one of the main blocks is our fear of intimacy, the fear of dissociative. And that's why we use dissociation so much. You guys follow this? So let's extend again. And then as we extend, the co-emergent process arises. With every extension, what's happening, it becomes co-emergent. The more it arises in you, the more it arises in me. The more it arises in us, the more it arises in the third. And really and truly, this is so little practiced. It is so tiny practiced. You know? I had a good fortune of seeing Lama Torchen this weekend in New York City. One of the great Dzogchen masters, you know? About 50 people were there, all of New York City. You know, just from this prejudiced point of view, you know? Not that it's the only way. But the natural awareness state. So let's move on to... Everyone feels established here? Say yes if you feel established. Yes. And can you see and touch all through this Namayakaya? So everything becomes heightened. Before we leave this, so let's pull our mind a little bit more into the more we're in the Mayakaya, the more we can pull our mind into it. We pull our body into it. So sometimes we're pulling things into it, and sometimes we're extending it out. Sometimes we're extending awareness out, and that holds everything. And sometimes we're pulling everything into awareness. Say yes if you understand that. That is the basic method there. Okay? And sometimes we're dissolving ourselves, releasing ourselves into the Namayakaya. We're releasing ourselves actually through the other at times. Isn't that amazing? Sometimes we're pulling everything into the awareness field. Sometimes we're extending the awareness field that encompasses everything. And sometimes we're releasing ourselves directly. The inner yin becomes the great expanse itself. Very simple. And we're all awake. We're not in an altered state. So now, and we feel the body. We're in the body. So as one establishes their self, they begin to experience the field manifesting in otherness with exactly the same qualities. The same oneness permeates oneself and the other. The same spaciousness, the same energy, the same clarity, the same luminosity, the same purity, and the same great affection. The same manifestation of the same nature. Two minds, one nature. The resonance of the field becomes oneness. And as this arises between two or more, there's the same thing arising in the physical world, in the anima mundi. So the physical world begins to manifest the same porousness, and the same field is felt as the world. This is Namayakaya. This is the appearance of the field as flesh. This is the appearance of the field as flesh. Sambhogakaya manifests to a person as a dimension of awareness within the dimension of awareness. So sometimes we see some Sambhogakaya experience, but we're not quite in it. It's like we get little glimpses. Same thing with the Mayaka, but as we enter into it, we enter into that dimension, and then that we experience it within awareness itself. We experience that dimension of awareness, Sambhogakaya. And here, rather, and this is just words, okay? It's not like the real thing. It's more apparitional. So in Namayakaya, it's appearance. In Sambhogakaya, we start experiencing apparitions. Yeah? It's a great word, actually. It becomes apparitional. And the apparitional experience of luminosity, I'm not saying it's our mind at all. It is not a projection as Jung of an image. I saw the Red Book, by the way, this weekend, too. Yeah. It's not a projection of the mind. We cut through that. It's an apparition of the nature of awareness itself manifesting to us. It's the apparition of the nature of awareness itself. It's the apparitional experience of luminosity. It is the luminous world of the vortexualness. It's the luminous dimension of the heavens, the deities, dakinis, the archetypical dimensions of experience, the energies, the primordial energies, the shaktis, the visionary apparitions of world within worlds. This is not an experience of theater outside the experiencer. If it is happening that way, you want to again lean into it. You with me? So you see the deity outside you. She's appearing to you. And she's appearing in that dimension that you're in. It is your dimension. It is manifesting, not your mind at that moment. Your mind will just doubt it. And as it appears into you, you lean into it. You release yourself into that dimension a little bit more. Often as we do that sometimes, we get very afraid. And the fear is that we will then become and subsumed by that deity. Do you follow what I'm saying here? So you release yourself into that manifestation of primordial consciousness itself. Sometimes it's just the brightest of the lights also. So this is not literal. Do not take me literal. you know. Don't believe any of this. This is simply experimenting, okay? So this great text, you know, about the different heavens, all that is Sambhogakaya dimension, you know, and all different traditions have some aspiration and about these different dimensions, you know, the different places, the lokas, and these different apparitional manifestations. Even at the moment of death, Namayakaya starts to dissolve, and what arises is Sambhogakaya, huh? So we learn to embrace Sambhogakaya. This is not an experience of theater outside of the experiencer. The experience is within this dimension, and the locus, there's no distance to the cosmological consciousness. Out of this, flesh arises. Huh? That's why it's both within us, it supports us, and it's also above it. It's all through us. So this is also the dimension of the mantra, the sound, the sound. So mantras are one ways of helping to invoke Sambhogakaya dimension, right? Everybody knows this, okay? So that mantra we gave a couple of weeks ago when we've been using, Om Ahung. Om opens up Namayakaya. Ah, throat. Throat is Sambhogakaya. Hung is, or hum, either one, is the heart essence, is the Dharmakaya, okay? Om Ahung first. Just like we take our hands and we start putting in front of the body and we start pulling, the mantra does the same thing. It opens the doors, okay? If you don't practice this, nothing will happen, okay? So we're going to now focus on the mantra Om Ahung. I'll say it out loud and you can just say it to yourself. Om Ahung. But we're going to say it into each other's bodies. We are saying it into the body to bring it forth. Om Ahung. Om Ahung. Bodhicitta. Masuka. Yana Dhatu A. Just listen to it for a little while, though. Just feel it. It's really more powerful feeling it. It's like feeling the extension of the mantra. Om Ahung into the people's bodies in front of you. Om Ahung, Bodhicitta, Mahasuka, Yana Dhatu A. Om Ahung, it opens the doors. Bodhicitta, the aspiration of realization and the actuality of realization are the same. Om Ahung, Bodhicitta, Mahasuka, the great bliss, the great sweetness, Mahasuka. Yana, Yana, direct perception, Gnosis, not mind reading, Gnosis, knowing light, knowing Gnosis. Dhatu A, in every situation. Let's say it again, towards each other's bodies. Om Ahung, Mahasuka, Yana, Dhatu A. You, as a Qigong will say, you feel the gong behind it. You feel the power behind it. The power of awareness. Om Ahung, Mahasuka, Bodhicitta, Yana, Dhatu A. Now we're going to do one more thing. We're going to focus the breathless breath on each other, because the breathless breath helps open this up. You might open your mouth a little bit. Now you can allow yourself to feel the deities in your body or in the other person's body. Learning to sense the deity in his body or her body. Do not imagine it. Do not visualize it. Do not imagine it. Do not visualize it. Okay? This is more direct. It's like just like when we extend to a person, by putting out the extension, suddenly we feel the oneness take place. Huh? The same thing. You allow yourself And the seeing comes through the heart chakra. The seeing comes through the direct perception of the Nintig, the inner heart essence. Is that okay with everybody? If you can't see it, just feel it. The closest manifestation of the deity is the human face. Make no mistake about this. The closest manifestation is the human face. That is the closest place. So as you see it in the human face, as Namayakaya, it will arise in Sambhogakaya. You guys follow what I'm saying? And then sometimes like a prayer, an evocative prayer, like if for Mary, the Memorare is a great one. You with me? Whatever one you love. You with me? You're invoking the Dakini, the Deva, the entire dimension. Then we'll do the fierce for a moment. Omahung. Rulo, rulo. Hung, ho, hung. Om, rulo, rulo. Hung, ho, hung. Now, I know we're moving fast, but we're quick here. Let your two will focus on one person, and I'd like you, if you wouldn't mind, breathing the mantra into the person's body, okay? So two of you can lean into one person. This doesn't take a lot of decision making. And you lean and you say the mantra, but you use the breath or use the breathlessness. Either way. You can say it, Om Ahung, but you want to feel the chi in your voice, okay? You want to feel the field in your voice, right? Or you can do it with the breathless breath. You won't feel nothing, but you can sense the mantra as you use the breathless breath, okay? Or you just use the breathless breath. So let's do that. Two people will focus on one person. We'll focus on Shan. Okay? On one person. You can be close. If you touch the person, feel your field in their field. Feel the oneness of the touch. Be as normal as you can. You can feel all this bliss in your normal state. If you concentrate too hard in a certain way, you can go into a mini trance state. This is not a path of concentration. Then let's focus on the other person. And then let's use our voice a little bit with this time now. Om Ahum Bodhicitta Mas Sukha Yana Datu. You can feel the power of extension with your voice. Om Ahum Bodhicitta Mahasukha Yana Datu. We won't do this today, but sometimes you can do it on certain points, like the wrists, the inner heart, and the navel. The lights in Sambhogakaya tend to be sometimes more dramatic, like dramatic red, dramatic blue, dramatic green. Okay, so it's in Sambhogakaya where these lights tend to be more manifest. Okay, the different dimensions. Huh? The elements start to make their appearance here. So these lights are the elements. Huh? The elements arise out of the Dharmakaya, out of the clear light of the Dharmakaya, just the knowingness itself. So the elements begin to rise from the Dharmakaya. As they arise, that is the beginning of Sambhogakaya. And so the Buddhists, we call them the Buddhist families or the elements. The red energy, the green, the blue, the white, and the yellow. Huh? So you may begin to see these colors rainbow-like appearing. Huh? And then that starts to manifest as our mind and the world. So we'll just feel this right now, these colors. At times also, you can pull, the guru is also at this level. So you can pull in, if you wish, whatever symbolizes or personifies the guru function for you also. You can pull that in. Huh? Be a great yogi, could be Buddha, Shiva, Christ. All these are manifestations of Sambhogakaya. Because you're doing this with other people, it allows you to do this with other people. There's a certain breakthrough that you have to break through, a solipsism, sort of, that's rather fundamental. It's like breaking a glass. Doesn't mean you don't have love in your body, doesn't mean you have friends and pets and, but there's a certain thing that has to be cut through at Sambhogakaya. You guys following this little discussion a little bit here? Because it's not easy to tolerate the oneness. Everybody doing okay? So we're almost. We can still feel timeless awareness. We can feel the translucidity of the field. We can feel the timeless awareness. And Sambhogakaya, it has a more timeless tone to it in its own way. It's more. It's not quite Nirmayakaya dimension. Huh? It's not quite this dimension. Now we're going to release one more step. So one way we use Sambhogakaya is we really use it to build power, to build Shakti, to cultivate Chi. You with me? To utilize these archetypical primordial powers, huh? And really the great healers enter this dimension. They entered Nirmayakaya, and they also entered Sambhogakaya, right? Sometimes as the energy, as the light, as the green luminous light. They entered as the light. They entered as the deity. You guys follow? Because the deity is not different than our own awareness. And some of the deities will manifest as particular lights. I'm not talking about light as light green, like here's a little flash. I'm talking about as powerful rays of energy, huh? Sound. So cultivating the capacity to evoke the green light in oneself and others, the healing Buddha light, is a very powerful thing. To be able to cultivate it in yourself, that you can extend that, is what Sambhogakaya healers do. You guys follow what I'm saying? That's what some Bogakaya healers do. Or the red light, you with me? Or earth. Sometimes the earth is white, sometimes it's yellow. There's a lot of fluidity in these signifiers. So let's now release this a bit. Let's release it. Let's release it where there's no form, there's no manifestation, there's no appearance, there's no apparitions, there's no time, there's only timelessness, there's pure no-thingness, there's only the purity of beingness itself, but there is no being. Sometimes releasing yourself, there's no one way of doing this, but sometimes as if you're going to fall a little bit, like you're just letting yourself fall backwards just a little bit. You're just releasing yourself into the deep sea, the sea. Into the darkness. But actually, as you release into the void, sometimes you'll be just released into the pure void, and sometimes it'll be the luminous void. Huh? So we can't be literal. We can't think, oh, there's no luminosity in Dharmakaya. Or there's no bright white light in Dharmakaya. So there's variations. There's no one way of articulating it. That's why it's described in so many different ways. Is that okay with you guys? You cannot quite reify it. So all these are just possibilities. Let's release ourselves a little bit more. Sometimes as we release ourselves, we'll still be in Sambhogakaya, we'll still be in Namayakaya, but we feel the background of Dharmakaya. We feel the vast background. Sometimes that is the fear of death. Sometimes the vast background of Dharmakaya is the fear of death. Sometimes the vast background of Dharmakaya is the fear of death itself. Sometimes the vast background of Dharmakaya is the feeling of potential, infinite potential. Sometimes the background of Dharmakaya is simply the unconceived oneness that you know. You just know it. Sometimes we experience all three dimensions at the same time. Now, I'm just going to read this to you, and then we're just about done. Of course, there are certain texts that further describe the relationship of oneness of the dimensions of awareness. And they use language this way. And all these languages are hints just to us to lean in, swim around in. They're not to be believed. Okay? They're not to be believed. Okay? There's the Namayakaya of the Dharmakaya. There's the Sambhogakaya of the Dharmakaya. And there's the Dharmakaya of the Dharmakaya. And there's the Namayakaya of the Namayakaya. The Sambhogakaya of the Namayakaya. The Dharmakaya of the Namayakaya. And then there's the Namayakaya of the Sambhogakaya. The Sambhogakaya of the Namayakaya. And the Dharmakaya of the Sambhogakaya. There's the Dharmakaya of the Dharmakaya. The Sambhogakaya of the Dharmakaya. And the Namayakaya of the Dharmakaya. And they have different deities that personify them. You with me? So Padmasambhava in the Buddhist language would be a Namayakaya of Namayakaya person. You with me? He's a real live person. You with me? And Amitabha would be some Bogakaya of Dharmakaya, something like that. You follow what I'm saying? So in regards to these deities, which are not entities, they're not entities. There's dimensions of the manifestation of awareness, of our own awareness, okay? And we use those faces and those deities. It will appear to us automatically, naturally. Just like flesh appears to us automatically, the deities appear automatically as the manifestation of Sambhogakaya companionship. Okay, we're almost done. Companionship is essential to the practice of realization. Companionship is completely necessary for realization. Do you follow what I mean? So it's useful to have companions at the Nirmayakaya level, whoever that might be. Dogs, pets, people, whatever that might be. Textbooks. It's also at Sambhogakaya, naturally arising companionships arise. Who are the deities? Just like at the moment of death, when the Mayakaya is dissolving, you enter the Sambhogakaya realm. Om Ahum Bodhicitta Mahasukha Yana Dhatu Ah. That's the mantra of that dimension. It's the mantra of the mandala of the deities. It's the mantra of the Sambhogakaya dimension. Rulo, rulo, hung, ho, rulo. Okay? And so as you enter that, and you know that, just that mantra alone, it's like a guaranteed mantra. It's a high mantra with me. And that mantra will bring you into a fearless state as you meet Sambhogakaya. You read some of this stuff, and they take it out of the nature of your own awareness, and it sounds, oh my God, here we are back into some kind of weird theological moment. It is the nature of your own awareness that's manifesting itself. So when you have the grace of the Dakini, the grace of the Dakini is a manifestation of the light of awareness, manifesting itself to you. You with me? In a companionship way, that is your own, and you make that your own. Everybody doing? Or if you hear the voices talking to you, with me, the voices will come to you at this level. Okay. So we're almost finishing our talk on the three kayas. Of course, all this is simply a poetic expression of the language, or the languageless experience beyond language and beyond the mind. Each kaya is completely non-dual. Kayas are manifesting within the kayas. Dimensions manifesting within dimensions. Awareness manifesting within awareness. And awareness manifesting within awareness. Ultimately, all the manifestations, including myself just sitting here with you all, for me, this manifestation taking place here in Nirmayakaya, is the grace of self-manifestation. It's the grace of the field. All this is completely self-arisen. It's the arising of awareness, and awareness arises within me and you, as me and you, in lots of different ways. It is the manifestation of totally the purity of beingness itself that starts to manifest as beingness and as beings, ultimately. So this awareness arises within awareness as appearance. It arises as apparitions, and is just unmanifest. It's just pure beingness itself. The experience of appearance within awareness, the apparitions of awareness within awareness, and the purity of awareness as awareness itself. The bardos may be thought as manifestation of awareness as the kaya. When you go into the bardo, Sambhogakaya kaya. But if we leap now, there is no bardo. The bardo is not necessary. You want to have total confidence, not in me speaking. You don't want to have any confidence in something outside your own self. Lord Buddha would say this. Do not, if I can find it. Can't find it. Let's see. He would say, do not believe it because he's saying it. Do not believe it because you think an angel has said it to you. Do not believe it because some God has said it to you. Do not believe it because some text has said it to you. With me? But you have to take the authority of this for your own self. His last words are, light your own fire. You with me? So when certain things from certain teachers who I love are saying certain things, I don't believe them. I just don't believe them. Doesn't mean I don't like them, love them, honor them. But right as they're saying, at the moment they're saying it, out of my own awareness, I know I'm not owning that which is being said. I am taking the spontaneity of the understanding at that moment and make it my own. By doing that, I am taking the authorship of realization. Not that I don't take the support, but you want to honor the guru, the self-revelation in your own self. By doing that, it's a guaranteed drama. We're going to close our eyes for a minute after all the rhetoric, and we'll sit. In certain traditions, in certain forms of Buddhism, in certain forms of Hinduism, definitely in certain forms of Christianity, Namayakaya or Prakriti is shit. It doesn't exist. You with me? It just doesn't exist. It's a delusion. In other forms, it is divinity itself that is in your life as your life. Completely valid. In certain forms of Hinduism, certain forms of Christianity, in certain forms of Buddhism, Sambhogakaya is a delusion. The visions, the apparitions are not to be, or to be discounted, not to be embraced, not to be loved. You with me? It's a delusion. In certain forms of Dzogchen, Longchenpa, in certain forms of Buddhism, certain forms of the Sambhogakaya realm is divinity itself, cosmologically divinity that manifests in you as you in your body. So when we say the mantras into each other's body, is not placing that in their body, it's helping bring the experience forth. We bring the experience forth. And Namayakaya, which is the pure divinity, pure beyond all forms, it is creative potential. It is potential space beyond form, and it's divinity itself. Yes.
Don't we really place that, we're in the field together, but don't we place that in our own body that then manifests?
Yes. It's actually in your body already, and you're bringing it forth by placing it in your body. That's one of the reasons why we don't do much visualization. We don't want to impose it. We'd rather bring it forth as it is. We'd rather find it. We have that confidence. We want to feel it. If we're in awareness, we can feel it. We can feel around us the vortexes. We can feel the wind. That is a manifestation of the Sambhogakaya dimension. Let's hang out for a minute. So, would one or two people mind just articulating their experience right now? Michelle, would you mind getting a little microphone over there? And would someone mind articulating their experience of the Sambhogakaya? And I'll just take the microphone and hand it to somebody. Would you mind describing your experience of Namayakaya? Let's all attend to them, okay? Let's stay in here. If they articulate it, we will learn, okay?
You're talking Namayaka.
Namayaka. What was that like? In the flesh. The manifestation of form. Inside, outside. Awareness as form.
I didn't have a whole lot of sense of form. I had, that the sense of I could really feel the 360 degrees around.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, there was some center point around which,
what did that feel like?
it just moves it into a lot of spaciousness, makes it very I want to say makes it very blue and very
luminous.
Luminous and and it's not directional.
It's non-directional.
Yeah.
Let's stay with that phrase. It's non-directional and non-referential.
Right.
Is that okay to hear that phrase? What's it like to experience the non-referentialness of the unfolding field? That is without reference.
It feels very full, very peaceful, very alive.
Yes.
Start getting really hot.
And she's describing this. This doesn't mean what I'm saying is true whatsoever. It's a poetic, but I'm hearing her experiencing the Namayakaya of Sambhogakaya
Yes.
and the Namayakaya of Dharmakaya
Oh, yeah.
at the same time. You
Yeah.
see why they would use that sort of language, okay?
Yes.
And so it's Namayakaya and it's Namayakaya of Sambhogakaya and Namayakaya. This is not just to complicate, but as we gain expertise, and it's Namayakaya, the Dharmakaya at the same time. And then she may slide simply into total Dharmakaya or Sambhogakaya. Namayakaya drops back, or it's not. So that sort of language is useful. Okay. Yes, please.
One of the things that I was extremely aware of is when we were doing the Nirmayakaya was the light within the flesh, the total permeability, and the flesh was present. On the other hand, there was total permeability, and it was like the light, the flesh became light.
Yes. So that's really helpful because that is why we can do what we're doing now. One of the things we've been working on, right, is having the vast body. Okay. So to feel, right, the vast body, the flesh as light, or luminous flesh, actually makes everything much easier because we're no longer using intentionality to hold the light, right? We do not want to use intentionality to hold the light. And if you're not quite feeling that, maybe the next session we'll work on that with each other again, because we can do that with each other, right? By feeling the body of light in our own bodies. That's what all of us can do this. We can feel the body of light in our own body. When we touch your body, that person is there. Just has to be. It's like a little seal. When we spoke about the different seals, we gave the talk on the liminal seals. That seal has to be broken. So when we're doing that touch, we're actually undoing the liminal seals. With me, and also sometimes there's seals between the kayas, although they're one kaya, but that gets more and more fluid, more and more fluid. Raise your hands if you're understanding what I mean by seals. Okay, you follow that? So that working with the seals and dissolving the seals is useful. This making sense for everybody? Would you mind describing the Sambhogakaya? Whatever that means for you.
The word that comes to me is effulgent. There was a richness and a blossoming and a beauty that brought tears to my eyes.
What did it look like? What did what did you see? Gazing?
It was more of a feeling and a knowing.
A knowing.
And
So
but there was like a
gazing
rose.
is a feeling and knowing too. It's not just seeing with the eyes, right?
Yeah. And in the knowing there was like a rose red kind of quality. But it was more of just that sense of so full in the richness. So present, and it was just so beautiful.
What's it like seeing the Mahasukha, the beauty? What's that like for you? Just seeing that.
I guess in the tears, there's a feeling of a blessing and gratitude, and but it's very subtle. It's very moving. It feels like a protection and a like being part of all that.
Yes. So that's really helpful, right? Sambhogakaya is protection. To experience the power of the kayas is protection. okay, that whatever takes place, our awareness with me, that experience will be continuous and intact. With me? Really useful at the moment of death, okay? To have that experience, that capacity for that.
And one more thing is, lately, I mean, very lately, instead of going out and up, there's a sense that it's all right here.
Cool. I see what you mean by that. Up and out, and what does that mean? Just a little more.
Like there used to be almost like a pull upward, and then connecting. It felt
like
at
an
a distance,
like an ascendant state,
yeah.
Right.
And
Very
there was
nice.
an exaltation to that, and it there was a almost like a far away quality in a certain kind of
To
way.
the
Like,
ascendant state.
yeah, and now it feels like it's embodied and it's here, and all of that's within as.
Very, very helpful, right? So as one starts really embodying the kayas, okay, sometimes the ascendant state, that especially in the Namayakai level sense of ascendance, begins to dissolve, and there's no more ascendant state. It really is completely present. Thank you so much. Hi, welcome. Would you mind describing Sambhogakaya, if that's okay with you?
Well, my experience was the apparitional.
Okay,
Experience.
that's Sambhogakaya. What was that like? What were the apparitions like?
Well, Ganeshi is the one that appeared,
Okay.
and Saraswati are the ones that identified themselves. Let's put it that way.
What was it like seeing her? Because she crosses both the Buddhist and Hindu traditions. She's the goddess of wisdom and knowing it. She's really great.
Well, she just very quickly made an appearance
Uh-huh.
and kind of moved out. And I just acknowledged her, and then Ganeshi came up very
What
strongly.
did he look like?
Just the images similar to the images that I've seen, the brass
The
sort
brass.
of images, very big
Big.
and generous. Big and generous, that was kind of my sense.
What was it like to feel that sense evoked in you, that big and generousness through him?
Delightful,
Cosmological
actually.
generosity.
Delightful is the way. Delightful and very powerful. Also very very grounded, but also very high.
Very high.
In that sense, very expansive, but rooted and
But
expansive.
very, very high, both high
Yeah.
and grounded.
Yeah. And it was interesting, the color green, which I hadn't experienced before, but it seemed very vertical. And when the colors came through, they were very vertical. You mentioned a rainbow, and I thought, well, there's no arc in this.
Right. Sometimes
You know.
I don't mean rainbow like that, but rainbow
No, but
colors.
yeah,
because
and they were showing
Very,
up
yeah.
vertically.
that is cool. What was it like to see them? They just arose one by one, or all this?
Well, they arose one by one, and then they lined up, and that
Great.
was delightful.
Right.
Yeah.
In the Kala Chakra too, you'll see that as one of the manifestations of the Kala Chakra, the cosmological. They'll be lined up just like that. Thank you so much. We're glad to have you here. Tom, we'll get everybody to get a chance to share. What was it like for you, either one of those, Namayakaya, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya? Which one? What was it like? Whatever one you would like to articulate.
Well, I've always kind of resisted the Sambhogakaya. I think you were mentioning different traditions. I think my tradition was to say it's bullshit. And so I felt that I'm kind of enjoying this construct of, I don't know if it's a construct, but talking about it as the Dharmakaya then manifest into the Sambhogakaya and then the Nirmanakaya, so it kind of creates a softer Sambhogakaya to operate in. And that's what I got. I usually don't experience much, but I got it was kind of like a gossamer kind of a presence, the reality of that, and feeling kind of the excitement of how that's going to move through things and make everything permeable or changeable and not quite graspable. And so it felt very good to allow the Sambhogakaya to be real in my awareness, which my tasting of it. It wasn't I don't see it, I just taste it in my bones. It's like when Jan said knowing, that's what knowing for me is, just kind of tasting it in my bones. and it feels very delightful to taste that.
Thank you. And Steve, what was it like for you? Anyone you'd like to describe? All of them, if you would like.
For me, Sambogakai was the most intense experience. That when we started talking about that one, that was the one that most had the appeal to me. And every week coming, Dharmakai I've kind of been lost with, and Sambogakai, something about it has always drawn me to it. And today, in it, there was, when you started talking about find your deity and whatnot, and I just had this immense feeling of power. And then what just kind of came up in me was this idea, of that we're all Shiva, Shaivism, and I just had this feeling that almost as if I was a god, and it really kind of scared me because it's come my background and whatnot, and just the way I think it's, well, this is very pleasurable, but that I shouldn't A, feel pleasure, and B, it's scary because, well, then if it's so pleasurable, am I going to get lost in it? Am I going to abuse it? Am I going to come to this and try and draw strength out of this for who knows what? And so then it kind of scared me, and I pulled out of it, and then kind of been sitting here just kind of, all right, now what do I do? Now I'm lost again.
I'm really glad you're saying this for all of us, because I think for some reason Gabe Dorje comes to my mind. And Gabe Dorje talks about first there's a transmission, some kind of way of the experience, and you hear it, and it rises in you. You with me? And then he says, at some point, make a decisive decision. Forget about everything, and so you make a decisive decision. You with me? Because ultimately it is our decision. You with me? So this is arising in you, and of course the mind, which is essentially doubt. That's why Descartes, doubt, science is built on the hypothesis of doubt. So immediately we start this arising, and we start doubting, what am I going to do with this? Oh my, it's so powerful. It is fantastically powerful. I'm really glad it's arising in you, and it's arising, for all this power arising. It is scary, like holy. But as it's arising, you feel the decisiveness of your decision. Is that okay, me saying that to you?
Yeah, no, that actually, before the power really started, I felt it especially up in the shoulders and just kind of felt like I was floating up. Before that, I felt this sensation of kind of being pulled down. And what then came in my head was pot. And I started saying that, repeating that.
Cool.
And then I kind of had this kind of game in my head, almost like a video game of, shooting these little strings away or something and freeing myself,
Pot, great.
And so, then it kind of turned into this Macy Day parade kind of sensation. I'm shooting all these little guys who are holding me down.
Cool.
And then it just grew, and then I got to this point where it's kind of like you're floating up on that balloon, and then you realize, oh shit, how am I going to get down from here? And then, and that's when it kind of hit me, and it was like, maybe this isn't, maybe I shouldn't do, maybe I'm going the wrong way, maybe I'm, trying to reach at something that's not for me, that I'm not supposed to be at. And that's when then I was just kind of like, okay, here, I'm out of it.
Yes. So that's where you've got that Vajrakalaya component to your person. You can just hit doubt with me. Any time there's a shape of doubt. The expansiveness is Buddhahood, or Shivahood. It is an expansive state, just as we are. That's why all of us have a little bit in us right now. It's there. The total thing is there, completely us. And we're learning to allow it to expand, to come through the corporeality, to come through our mind. And so we'll start feeling that little cage, and we're just letting it expand, open, open, open. And I'm so glad you're using pot, because pot is a way of cutting through doubt. Thank you so much. It's helpful for everybody. Welcome. Whatever one you'd like to describe?
Well, I appreciate that last conversation a lot, because when I was in the experience, I hadn't been here for a couple weeks, and I felt, even though I've been meditating, the richness of the field here is so strong, and so it's wonderful to be back in it. And I could initially, I actually really have trouble distinguishing between Namayakaya and Dharmakaya. I'm not sure I know the difference between those two.
Well, is that little Namayakaya is for hi. This is Namayakaya. How you doing? Dharmakaya is the great Mahasunyata void. It's Shiva. In Shaivite terms, it's Shiva. It's pure awareness before any of the tattvas. And if you go into Shaivism, you have all the tattvas. Those tattvas actually reflect the three kayas in Dzogchen too. The tattvas, the unfolding of each. So the first four tattvas in Shaivism are Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya. Is that okay with you?
Yeah,
As a
that's
Shaivite
helpful.
person?
Well, I guess I was most of the time in Dharmakaya.
Great.
And I felt like when you were doing the instructions on Sambhogakaya, I sort of had a little hit of Kuan Yin as it came to. But then I just kept going into this, like I was aware my mind was very active at different points, and then it could dissolve in the place of Dharmakaya. Like it just,
Absolutely.
I was just floating. I was just in this expansive place, and even as we're, kind of going through sharing, and I'm feeling that sort of chatter get it going again, or I could then sort of resource the Dharmakaya place where it melts.
What's it like to resource?
It's a relief.
Can you describe what that's like a little bit more? Just putting that releasement to words for all of us, that'll help us.
Well, I guess I have enough awareness at this point, you could say, that that chatter is so unhelpful. It's debilitating is probably too strong a word, but my mind just gets so active. I live in that thought place as a habit. So to have access to another place that feels so much richer, and like it's like accessing love, it feels like to me.
Love.
Like
pure love.
I can just be with love and trust. That's partly why I was appreciating what you were saying so much, because I know that sort of going in and out and in and out. But to have something to go to that is, and ironically, more solid in its liquid amorphism.
Isn't that true? It's more solid. It's more continuous, even though it's amorphous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next person, do you mind sharing one of your experience? Since we're trying to, maybe Sambhogakaya, we're trying to bring Sambhogakaya for all of us. We have and the more we hear people talk it, then we experience it because it's being communicated to us in the field. What was that like for you?
So, when you talked about seeing the goddess, I have certain appearances that come at different times. But what I really experienced differently this time was really releasing and allowing intentionally. And what came was someone I didn't know.
A visitor.
And it was like, as I allowed it to fill my body.
Great.
It was like, I think, because I don't really know it, but it seemed like it was a Greek goddess, which was, not of my usual realm, which is usually a little farther east. And and it was like a crown and like earth, maybe like some kind of earth Greek goddess. And then I looked over there to sense, allow what would come. I don't know your name, Dan. And it was sort of seemed to be coming from the same region of the world or something, because or sort of a desert thing. And I just saw a male figure with flowing robes and arms outstretched, maybe even a Christ-like kind of image. And so the intentional releasing and allowing and having something really surprise me was what was important for me in that.
Beautifully described. And she also described how it was in her. So a lot of times, sometimes the archetype begins to become us, you with me? And it's always like a little challenging, but that's actually a consummation of it as we become the deity. Thank you so much. Howdy, how you doing? What's happening?
Oh, that was a wonderful experience. We had a group of 4, and ordinarily that would put me into, ooh, how do we do this? And, you know, the logistical stuff. It wasn't even an issue because I found myself going into a couple of things. I think I went through all of the kayas, but the one thing that was most noticeable to me was I experienced Sambhogakaya not so much as a deity or range of deities, but in my body as energy, and I wouldn't call it vortexes of energy. There was one point at which I had to move my legs, and, you know, we ended up touching, all of us, and it felt so incredible to have the energy actually moving forward through me, among me, around me. But it was the same energy that all of us had. It was the same thing. It's like I was inhabiting, instead of going into, ooh, look what kind of great energy I have, it was more like, I'm recognizing that this is here and that everybody else was experiencing it. It was also the same kind of experience that I had when there was the choice of where to lean in when we did the, you know, the breathless breath. Because it wasn't going to work physically, I just allowed myself to go into, what feels right. And what felt right was, I don't even have the words to describe it. I leaned into all 3 people at the same time. And I didn't do it physically, except I did. And I'm still not sure how that happened, but it's like I felt... Again, I think it's because it was that same energy. It was sort of like I felt everybody's energy, which is also the universal energy, rising up to meet me and therefore becoming stronger and greater. And something else, by the way, that Jan said made me, I just totally resonate with. It was not at all a sense of going out there to find this goddess or that person or whatever. It was just in me, in us, around us, through us. It felt like it was both at the same time completely transcendent because it transcended the limits of my body, but I felt very secure inside my own skin.
Beautifully articulated. Really, really well articulated. Cool. I also especially like how this is not just seeing deities as, you know, people. It's the power, it's the gong, as the qigong, it's the gong, it's the shakti of it, arising in this primordial manifestation. And I like the word inhabit. You were inhabiting the same sphere. Thank you so much.
And I just wanted to add, I just met Alex Gray last night.
Oh, did you? Cool.
So it was the most amazing thing because it was as if I was bringing that entire experience with me, and I could feel the lines and the connections. And it's like turbocharged.
Right. Totally cool. Thank you.
I think for me, it kind of, the 3 kayas kind of follow my depth of meditation. I start out in the Nirmaya and well aware of like the edges of everything happening, the noise, the sense of myself and boundaries. And go a little deeper, and I start to, I guess, sense the different
turn the camera towards me.
sensations, energy kind of arising out of the base or the void.
Cool.
And then, you know, I get a little deeper, and then I start to really be aware of the energy and the forms.
To Dan. Okay.
The forms of it. You know, different lights. I think my images tend to be very kind of diffuse and, for me, kind of like ancient forms or practitioners.
You see some of the masters, some of the teachers?
Yeah, but they're not, I don't really, you know, attach or come up with a name or just figures.
That's great.
And I think toward the end, I what I'm calling Dharmakaya, I think like the intensity or the things that erupt out of the emptiness kind of settle down, and it becomes pretty smooth or high frequency. And I'm just aware of the background, the darkness, the density of it, the kind of power of it, and just kind of rest in that place.
Beautifully described for all of us. Thank you.
For me, I guess it was Sambodhakaya. When I focused on that disc, incredible energy came up in a column way, and when I focused on our triangle, it really was no longer a triangle, although there was incredible oneness and spaciousness. But I did see many, many small triangles, silver triangles, just cascading, and it was like a motion that was moving. It was just wonderful.
Was it coming out of your body or someone else's body, or just in the intermediate area? I'm curious.
I think it was the intermediate area. And then I saw a long, long line of ancestors lined up, one behind the other.
That is great.
Yeah, really solid. The oneness and the co-emergence. I think it's probably the best triangle experience I've ever had.
That is cool.
It's really cool.
I'm happy for you. Let's see. We're going to go down. Let's go all the way down to the other side first, and then we'll start way down there. See how they're doing with that. Okay, sir. Any particular aspect you'd like to describe? Be great. Because everybody's descriptions really help us open it up, and it's not so literal.
For me, I think it was mostly a Sambhogakaya experience. And I think what I was taken to this place where I was being acquainted with my inner knower and dissolving doubt about the inner knower. And it was mostly energetic. Before we were to extend to the other two, I had this infusion of energy, which felt like the perfect energy that I needed to do that with. And then before I was extended to by the other two, I had a similar infusion of energy. And the other piece to it was this joy and humor that was happening, but it wasn't a personality thing. It was this incredible infusion of joy and humor coming in. I mean, I'm sure it's just a form of love, but not connected to my personality, which was very interesting. And rather than seeing any beings, I just felt a sense of oneness. And the other thing that was happening was before you would describe a quality or a thing, it would come up for me before.
Cool.
It's almost like these poems you hear by the ancient poets saying, you know, God knows your existence before it even unfolds, that's part of the inner knower that we carry. So I was being granted an experience of that, it seems.
That's a very beautiful, beautiful phrase. We're just going to pause just for a minute. Thank you so much.
I'm just going to have to own up that I'm not feeling really articulate, but what really amazed me when you said to speak from a place, I had never felt my my voice or my forming of words come from any other place except what I thought, I guess, was my mind. But it came from another larger place, and it came in colors, and it came in very thick and very moving and not moving. And so I really kind of dwelled not on the I dwelled on what it felt like, and I've kind of put that into other areas. It was quite astounding about color.
Totally beautiful. Totally cool, huh? Speaking from the area of the elements, you know? It was so beautiful. That's great. You're an acupuncturist, too.
I really feel that here, that you come from another
place, and I always go to nature. I mean, I could go on to say I turned into flower again. I turned into all the, and it's difficult for me sometimes to resonate with what everyone says, because I'm in this big earthy place, and yeah.
You know, Sambhogakaya is described by many, as simply the rain of flowers.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
where
one
I
of-
hang out.
The rain of flowers is Tinley Norbo, who is the son, like the head of the Nyingma tradition, okay, and describes it as the rain of flowers. So I'm emphasizing deities, but it's not simply that. It is also flowers and earth
Yeah.
and,
Well, that's
and
good
all
too.
these. It's the heavens. It's the whole thing. The rain of the flowers.
Because I went to deities when I was doing some shaman work, and I wasn't comfortable there.
Yeah.
It was very foreign, and kind of anyway. So I guess I hung back with. I mean, to be the quality of a petal. I mean, it's just the color, the dew, the feeling of it.
That is totally it. There's no. This is we can't get too literal with this. But that's great.
Well, that's
I'm
really helpful
really
to me. I
glad you
appreciate
brought
that.
this. You know, it's flowers, it's heavens, it's it's the.
And you
It
experience
is
it with your
nature.
heart.
It is
Yeah,
nature. It
yeah.
is
That's
nature.
all I know.
It
Yeah.
is nature.
Thank you, Ruth. That was helpful.
Thank you.
I need to say, a parallel to that, you know, I think we each have these dimensions that we're gifted to go into. Whereas I do see some things, I see a lot of light, but for me, it's the vibration and the sound, and that's my world that I am born to be able to go into and then offer to other people. I just think that everyone here has their particular dimensions they're born to go into.
Sambhogakaya is the realm of sound. It is. That's why the doorway sometimes is mantras for people. You know, it opens up the door, but that is your natural place.
Yeah, which is why I've waked up in workshops and things saying things, you know, in Sanskrit that I don't know what they are, but I know I've studied Sanskrit. One time I went into a syllable. I went in. I was in this place, and it was in the syllable.
Yes. Cool. Thank you.
I think my experience was primarily the energy of light when we extended from the belly. You were talking about the disc at the beginning. That was such a strong pull to inhabit my body in this energetic way and light, with all this light and spaciousness, and that was totally delicious and validating. It's a stupid word, but it's like it was so real and evocative at the same moment. And then moving that out was very, very powerful. And there was one point, and I'm not sure exactly where it was when we were together, that I had the image of, sort of this image that Patricia had a kind of, and she had little wings. She had this kind of little wing thing. And Marilyn was this cylinder of light and energy, like a tree form. And the other piece was, at some point, the best way I could think of describing it is a curtain of light that is pulsating and, like it goes in and out, just coming down.
Like a sheath of light?
Yes, not straight, but undulating. And I have a huge resistance to the academic, knowing of these details, and so I really just have to keep interceding with gratitude and openness.
and that just, I kept accessing that, like grateful for who I am and being here. And then that would break through what, the doubting mind, that stories. And then these other things would happen, and that was a lovely experience.
Thank you so much.
There were so many experiences. But I'll pick one. A couple of them in the Zambogakaya, right in the center between the three of us, this just pulsating, flashing light, just building. So that was like a very lovely, like
right in the midst of everybody.
The three of us kind of co-holding. And then there was this other experience that was also a Bogakaya experience, which was Steve was sort of this lower, darker energy, and the two of us were more this bright, going this way, had joined, and then there was sort of a mixing of the two. That was a really wonderful experience I had.
Thank you.
That's quite fascinating, because for me, I don't know how to quite categorize what I was experiencing, but
okay.
It was because it was on a level that I usually don't get it. It was on a very sensate level. I was experiencing energies, especially with Donna. It was I was feeling her energy coming up into me through my hand and then going all around, and my energy was going to hers. And I opened up my eyes, and we were doing like a little dance with our hands, and I wasn't even aware that it was happening. And then I started playing with it, and I started going here, and I was experiencing it in a different way, and it was going all through my body. And then I was experiencing, and this is why I don't know quite what it was. It was like a Zambogakaya coming up through my root, and then just going all out and expanding out, combining with everybody else. But it really was that lower thing that you were talking about. It was and going and going all out, extending out, but very sensate. So I don't know if that's Namayakaya because it's through the sensations, or if it's Zambogakaya because its energy is going through.
You can play with those different categories. Namayakaya, Zambogakaya, Zambogan, if you like that sort of thing. But sometimes you can see it can't be just put in 1, 2, or 3.
No, because it was a very Dharmakaya experience of going out and all the energies going out and losing their individualities.
Thank you. So we're going to make some brief little statements. Everybody's going to just a little brief. Then we have to finish up pretty soon.
So, okay, very quickly. Today, it feels like in a continuum with the 2 morning meditations of yesterday and today, because you've been focusing on this. So just to say that what you were talking about, and now I can't remember the language, the inner knowingness. I'm sitting there meditating this morning online as you're speaking, and I'm going, oh, I want to write a book interviewing people about their experiences of the 3 kayas. Cool. And here we are. And you're doing, and it was just really, I thought it was my idea, right? So it was just, so it was already going on when I got here. So that's one thing. This is so rich for me, this interviewing, and why this is so important is because I have been struggling with these categories in terms of my own inner experience. As you know, my little mind, my big mind does stuff, and then I listen to you, and then I go, oh, I'm not doing anything. Well, I am. And today it was really, I went, oh, I really live in Zambogakaya through my body first. And I become the deity And there was no question that was going on. And it's no question like, is this good? Is this bad? Is this big? Is this little? It's like, hey, this is happening. And so there was definitely the goddess. She had different forms. I don't know who. She doesn't have names. I have trouble with the name part. But then, and then I would say, the other piece that's really strong for me these days, and I have to kind of tamp it down here, but these mantras keep coming out. The sound keeps coming out. And in authentic movement, which we do, I let them rip, and they go all over. And it's really, as you've been talking about, this is the mantric field. This is just really integrating for me in terms of my understanding and then development. So when the mantras come, then this very deep masculine deity emerges. Except, I don't know, I sometimes feel, and I did today, that it's Padmasambhava chanting. So I don't know, but that image is there for me a lot, but as a feeling and a thought then that comes in, not as a visual image. So I felt this moment, Steve, that you were describing, even though I didn't know we were doing that. Yeah. And I didn't realize we were doing a dance together, but this is so validating to me, because this has happened to me for a long time in certain ways. I go, so what is this? And so what am I going to do with this? That kind of thought. And I realized it has its own life.
Has its own
It
place.
is just to relax into and let it be.
Perfect. In this form where we're in, we don't detach ourselves. In certain traditions, you detach yourself from this. We don't detach ourselves from this. We become it. We embrace it. We love it. We like it. We like it as companionship, and we like it as our own being brought forth. As our own being brought forth that way. Fantastic. We're going to have to go a little quicker, though, because we're going to just a little bit what took place for you, I think, because we have to move like it's 5 after right now.
Just quickly, Sambodhakaya. I just found incredible heat. I was so hot. And then there was just all the light and the deities, and I could just feel it in the triangle. I could feel it within each other, Karen and Lynn, and it was just it was a sense of oneness and a sense of bliss and a sense of color and energy, and it was just and we were all together, and it was just lovely.
Cool. In that dimension together. Great.
I guess the strongest thing for me was also the heat, and when you touched my foot, and I could open my eyes, and you were touching Karen's foot, and so I touched Karen's thigh, and then we sort of had this circuit going. It was very nice. But I guess at one point I really had this sense of connecting with the medicine Buddha that I connect with a lot, and just sort of feeling that merging into my body, and just noticing lately that my feelings about prescribing medication are different. And really thinking about, where is this medicine going and what is it doing for this person, and not just sort of like, okay. So anyway, so that was cool. That was fun.
Great, thanks. We're going to have to end up now because we're getting way over time. I do have to go see somebody. So I'm sorry for the people that we didn't, but you can share next time, okay? Thank you all. See you later.